let's start with the topic, technology for finance strategy. Now, technology for finance is not a new topic because finance has used technology for years and decades, and we've all seen that evolution. But it's a very relevant topic because the amount of technology which is available today is sometimes overwhelming, actually, and confusing as to what you use when, what do you prioritize, uh, how do you go about implementing it, and the most I think confusing thing for CFOs if you try to judge is what is the return on this kind of technology investment. So therefore technology for finance is even more relevant today as a topic than it ever was. Now there are several surveys, yeah, conducted in India, globally, by large research organizations, firms, etc., as to what CFOs think and CEOs think as to what should be CFOs focusing on in the future and what would their most of their time go into. And there are certain themes which come out of this, and it is around digitization, it is around business strategy, talent development, business partnering, etc. These are coming out as themes where CFOs will be spending most of their time in the years going forward. However, there are certain core functions on which the expectation from us, the CFOs, remain because that doesn't change. Functions like controlling, like governance, like risk management. So these are functions on which we have to deliver, and there is no change in that. So when you think about technology, technology is an enabler. We need to think about what impact it may have and what should we choose when we think about applying technology in the things that we do. So what I'll talk about is mainly three areas today. One is controlling. Second is business partnering, and under business partnering, what I understand, we'll have business analysis, and then we will have planning and forecasting, which is scenario planning, etc. And the third piece is risk management. And when we think about value that technology can give, it's good to spell out that it's not only about the cost savings or the time savings, but it's also about the value creation piece of it, of how the input to business can improve. And actually, there is a large piece here that we will have to reckon, in addition to when we talk about cost savings or efficiency, when we think about bringing in technology. So, three large areas. So, first of all, controlling function within finance. Now, this is a core finance function, as we all know, because it establishes the robustness of commercial operations, of financial controls, and also forms the basis for good financial reporting. So, what we do, some of the tasks under controlling, unfortunately, ends up being reconciliations. Yeah, reconciliations between general ledgers and subledgers, reconciliation between other subsystems that you might have. You're doing valuations of inventory somewhere. Uh, then the other thing that we do is make provisions in different areas: rebates, warranties, incentives, debt, etc., etc. And once you do these reconciliations or you do provision computation outside the system, you'll be passing manual entries, and then you'll also be passing manual entries for reclassifying entries. So all these are not only time consuming and rigorous work, but also these are kinds of tasks which you want to get out of for the controller, so that the controller can focus on more value added activities. And here's where technology can come in, because if you have a cloud based solution, you can automate reconciliations, you can have your provisioning in certain areas automated, you generate standard reports. And what this does is it not only kills time, but it actually gives assurance, because then the entries are being passed in the way they should be as per your policy. So there is consistency and assurance, and the standard reports can be used in a certain way. But most importantly, this can enable the controller to give insights and inputs to the business in a more efficient way, which should improve business decision making. So let me take an example here. Let's talk about the project controlling area and different stages of project controlling. You start with pre-bid, then you have tendering, then you have the project execution. So if the project controller's inputs in the pre-bid area can be speeded up, then the bid itself can be done faster with better decision making. During the project execution stage, if the project controller's inputs can be faster, then the business can take decisions about, I mean, you get awareness about when to raise claims on the customer, when to apply certain clauses of the contract which should be applied. So overall, it should improve the value of the project delivery. So the output is measurable here as to what can come out of automation which you do in the project controlling area. However, for doing this kind of thing, I was talking about cloud-based solutions for automating reconciliations, provisions, etc. There are some prerequisites, and the main prerequisite here is that the accounting processes should be standardized and uniform. And what I've seen is this often becomes a large project by itself to identify which are the accounting processes that you should be focusing on and then standardizing them. Because only once you do that, you can have automation, you can have reconciliation, schedule preparation automated, provisions automated, standard reports, etc. So if you are thinking about technology application in the project controlling area as a whole, I would start with identifying processes and accounting which have to be standardized. You start there, and then once you do that, you bring in the automation and then get the result of it. So that would be the ideal way of approaching it. Uh, the second area that I would talk about is business partnering, which is business analysis and business planning. So when I think about business analysis, I mainly think about two planks of it. One is the content itself as to what is coming out from finance as business analysis, and the other is the process and the process of doing it. So let's focus on the content for a minute. So what is coming out of finance as business analysis, which can be used by the business? And a good test of this is how is it being used by the business? Is it being used for decision making, for changing course, whether it's being used at all? And whether it is used at all will also depend on what are the KPIs that we are measuring when we are doing our business analysis, and whether it's aligned to the strategy of the business. See, because strategy of the business changes, strategy changes, and the strategic drivers also keep getting redefined. And sometimes what happens is that in finance, we are stuck with the financial KPIs, but we may not be able to measure certain important KPIs related to the strategic drivers, which might actually have impact on, will have financial impact, which is impact on value creation. So let me again take a couple of examples. So let's say that there's a business in which one of the strategic drivers is new products. So it says that the strategy is that we will grow the business, we will grow market share, etc. And one of the main planks of doing that over the next 3 to 5 years is to introduce new products. Now, if this is an important strategic driver, then I would measure, first of all, the investment which is going in developing those new products, the investment which is going into promotions, and after the new products are launched, what is happening to the prices and margins? Are they dipping? It might dip in initially because you're introducing something new, but over a period of time, does it improve? Does it bring in more volumes? Does it pull in other products in my from my stable as it was supposed to do? So these are just examples, and there could be several other KPIs depending on which business we're talking about. But the point here is strategic drivers will need certain KPIs to be measured, which must come into the business analysis. And another example that I can think about is supply chain efficiency. You might say that one of our strategic drivers for value creation is that we will create an optimized manufacturing footprint. We will create optimized manufacturing footprint, and we will build redundancy across the manufacturing network, which means we will manufacture certain components in different places so that we are not impacted by risk in a certain geography. This is more happening after the pandemic, of course. So if this is a strategic driver, Then now, if you're going to have optimized manufacturing footprint, then you probably digitally integrate the plants. If you digitally integrate the plants, what you should see in efficiencies that our consumption of resources like energy, like material, like manpower should show improvement. It should get more and more efficient. You got to measure that. Uh, if we are creating redundancy or building inventory in different places, but this should get offset by the higher sales, lower sales loss because of downtime, etc. So they have to be related KPIs that you measure. Now, the point I'm making is that to measure this kind of KPIs, which, as you can see, goes beyond the financial accounting system but into the business systems, you have to pull data from different uh, source systems. And here's where technology can come in. Using cloud-based solutions, you can pull data from different source systems like, say, production, sales, after sales, customer service, logistics, etc., so that that data can be collated and we actually start doing your analysis, which is meaningful, and then which can go to the business. And similarly is the thing for financial planning and forecasting, because when you're doing planning and forecasting, actually triangulation should happen, which means that the trends for the future which are coming in from our own business data, then the trends which are coming in from external data, economic environment, and thirdly, what is coming to us from our field, that is from our sales teams and marketing teams. And we should have the capability to collate these three different streams of information so that you have the right data to analyze and create scenarios of what the future might look like, even 1 year hence, or 2 years hence, or 3 years hence. Now, to do this, again, what we are talking about is a good system which will then bring in data from different places and do analysis. Now, it could be good statistical analysis itself using good analytical tools. It could also be machine learning. I don't have much experience in using machine learning for forecasting, but I'm aware of people who do it, and that is obviously another opportunity. In this business partnering piece, the one area I would also like to talk about is the presentation of data, or what we call data visualization. Digital dashboards can be used for presentation of data, but then the look and feel of these dashboards have to be user friendly, because typical financial reports with rows and rows of data, columns of data, are not good digital dashboards. And unless the digital dashboards have a good user interface, they will not be adapted, they will not be used by the business, and this is a critical part. So this is the thing where technology plays a part, can play a part in what we do in business analysis, business planning, etc. The third piece is risk management. Now, if you're just thinking about cybersecurity risk, then using these cloud-based solutions, these are end-to-end encrypted usually, so they are expected to mitigate cybersecurity risk. But also, if you are thinking about business risk management, so what we do in risk management is, first of all, obviously we identify the risks, but to continuously see what could be the impact of that risk, so that you can have mitigation, you do scenario planning. And again, the data system that I was talking about will help in planning such scenarios. If you are trying to plan scenarios of different, let us say, procurement risk or commodity prices or freight rates, which are very relevant in today's times, or even demand changes. So these will all need simulations, and a good data system will help you to do this. So risk management can also be aided by using a good system of data. Now, um, in the end, I would like to talk about two enablers which will help and will enable all this. And one of it is the robustness of data, the uniformity of data structures that you have, whether the data is clean or not. And it's the basic thing. It's a very boring job to clean data, because here we're talking about syntax differences, we're talking about semicolons and commas, and whether how the customer name is written, all very basic stuff. But this boring job has to be done, and lots of organizations actually run projects to clean data, because unless you have the data cleaned and uniform, you can't do any of the advanced stuff that I was talking about. And the second most important piece for us as finance leaders is talent, because all that we are talking about, means that people are moving from certain jobs that they were doing to, and then we want them to do more value-added jobs. Now, what are those value-added jobs? I mean, those actually need slightly different skills or upgrading of skills. Sometimes they need some soft skills like communication. So it needs reskilling, but before that, it needs assessment of talent to assess who's capable of what in this new scheme of things, and make development plans for the for key talent, and also reorganize the finance team so that they focused on a for running these projects for automation, because some of it is a projects which will run for some time for implementing automation and technology. And then after it is done, who are the people who will be just users and who are the people who will be championing the change? This is a critical piece of finance transformation, which is kind of connected with the technology that we bring in. So overall, I would say it's exciting times, tremendous opportunities. But as I said in the beginning, it can be overwhelming with uh, the number of opportunities which are there. But there is a way of prioritizing what is most impactful for each business and then focusing on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sakar, for your speech, for your words, and our participants are really appreciating your insights. We have a question that has come in. Um, okay, I don't know the name of the speaker, but this is what he is saying. First of all, thanks for sharing your valuable inputs. I have one question which might not be directly linked to the topic and whatever you have explained. My question is, as a CFO or a finance head, how do you make management understand the importance of IT and sometimes normalize standardization of processes? This has come from Deepak Agarwal. He's a participant. I think this is a question which not only the CFOs, even the CIOs have to really grapple with, because your digital transformation has to be a board decision, but you can't blame it if all board members don't understand it.
Yeah, no, but IT, as the person calls it, or tech, as you understand it, is an enabler.
Hmm.
And I think the the conversation with the business is what it brings for the business, and that is why I was trying to approach it from what we are expected to deliver. So the conversation with the board or with the business is never um, starting with what technology we need, but starting with what we deliver today and what we are expected to deliver and how do we get there. And IT is an enabler.
Right, but the question is how do you get the board on board with you? Because sometimes the board feels that this is a cost.
Hmm.
They know it's an enabler, but they don't really understand the nitty-gritties of it.
Hmm. Yeah. So I don't think there's any straight answer to that,
Mm.
but yeah, it's the influencing skill of the CFO as to what it will. See, one of the things that it must be said is that you can't always specifically measure the return on these kind of investments.
Hmm. So the
So
ROIs are not black or white.
not very clear. So what most of us do, and this is across organizations, is that you understand that some of it has to be done. So you have a budget for it,
Hmm.
not necessarily looking for a return for every penny spent on it. But you have a budget for it. It fits in the P&L. It's a part of your cost structure that I'm going to invest on digitization, and then you do that. And then as the value keeps coming in, you have to find ways of articulating it back to the business. But it has to be done. You can't just say that, okay, you just need to do it because everybody is doing it.
All right. Sumit Gupta is asking, can AI and digital analytics be leveraged to build structural efficiencies to working capital management? How prevalent are these technologies across the country?
Yeah, conceptually, I know that they can be, because if you think about it conceptually, I mean, what is optimizing working capital will basically means optimizing your inventory, optimizing your receivables, procurement, etc. But have I seen it happening? Not directly. We've not really applied it so much, but I do believe it's possible, and conceptually, I do understand how it can be possible.